structured the whole staff, and then now we've restructured all the committees and added new. So one of the new committees and who is responsible for staffing it is the RMAs, which I'm one of 4. It's the Vitality Committee, Congregational Vitality. So we're talking about what it is to be people of vitality, people of the faith, and how they asked me to teach a Sunday school class. I said, well, this is what I'm doing for the whole topic. So I'm going to do a Sunday school class. You'll hear a lot more of this over the next couple of years. Just, you know how a committee takes to start their work. It's a slow process. It's a process of getting started, but I hope that we have the time together to sort of start exploring it here. And if you have any questions along the way, or something that didn't get you right, or something that did get you right, and you wonder more about that, then please reach out to me at the Presbytery and at Presbytery.org. So let us start with prayer. Gracious and loving God, open our hearts today to your word. Help us to reflect on what Matthew 25 helps us to see in your vision of the church. A way of visioning what the church is through faithfulness of Jesus Christ, rather than our view of the world. Open us to discipleship, to opening us up to what it means to be holy and worshiping you, loving our neighbor, serving our community, and having compassion and humility through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. So what is a healthy congregation like? What comes to mind when you're looking at a healthy congregation or a vital congregation? Active in service.
Unity.
Unity.
People not just showing up on Sunday, but showing up for each other.
Okay, showing up for each other, not just on Sunday. Okay, so deeper relationship, wider relationship. Mm-hmm. Okay, participating. Being engaged with the community. So that depth, not same surface. Yes. What about worship? The habits. Already have the text. Worship with the community. Worship with community as a community. So not just individual worship, because we each have our own prayer time and our time of worshiping God, but in community. Okay.
That would include faith, diversity, and almost everything else.
So unity and belief, but diversity and everything else. What's the everything else?
Well, if you have a congregation that all believes is of all one accord, let's put it, okay, whether that be political or otherwise, ethnic group or otherwise, then I think you're in trouble.
And what I mean by looking like God's people, that we don't all look the same. We don't all think the same. That would be great. It would kind of be. Mm-hmm. That's what I love most about chaplaincy, is that I got to meet different people every day, but didn't ever know where I was going to be called. So kept me on my toes. Else about what a vital congregation or church looks like. Serves other people. It serves other people. Mm-hmm. Outside of our little community.
shelter. People work at the network.
So working at the network, meeting the needs, looking at the, checking in with your specific neighbors in your neighborhood or in your community beyond that. Okay. Y'all really have a good base of what we're talking about. I mean, I would say that you're a pretty vital congregation anyways. But you are people that really focus in on what it looks like outside the walls of the congregation. Those are all signs of a vital congregation. But you didn't say the top 10 things of what people imagine what vitality looks like. So if you look at Canyon Creek, it is a congregation that is not as diverse as some, but most Presbyterians aren't. It is a fairly strong attendance for across the board. You are probably in our region, you are the third largest congregation. So financially, you're strong. Building wise, you've done a lot of work to get there and to continue building. Of course, good music. It's something and inspiring preaching. Children's program and friendly people. So that's what people imagine. And don't went a little deeper than that. You didn't stay at the surface level, which I really always love about this congregation, is that you don't stay at the surface level. You really get a little deeper. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So what do you think Jesus would say, or looking at a church? What would Jesus want us to be? Compassionate?
Diverse.
Diverse?
Growing.
Growing? Engaging?
Forgiving.
Forgiving.
Not be a jerk.
I think
Don't be a joke.
well, to be kind to others, so to generally live out who we are as people of faith. Grab a Bible. Okay, so I'm going to read to you Matthew 25. And we're going to look specifically at 34, which I know there's a whole larger context of this text where it's the separating out of the sheep and the goats and those who did and didn't do. But we're going to go into the fact that as a congregation of people of faith, that we are the people that are doing those acts of kindness and goodness in the world. And the text is super small, and I don't have my glasses. Does anybody else have a glasses and would like to read? Okay, I'll try. That says, those on the right, come, be blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom of heaven prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For when I was hungry, you gave me food. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was a stranger, you welcomed me. When I was naked, you gave me clothing. When I was sick, you took care of me. When I was in prison, you visited me. And the righteous answered him, Lord, when was it that we saw you? Saw you hungry and gave you food, thirsty and gave you something to drink. And when was it saw you a stranger and welcomed you, naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick and in prison and visited you? King will answer them, truly I tell you, just as I did it to the, you did it to the least of these. So what surprised you about the text? Thinking about it anew in the context of church vitality. Surprised you at all? Or have you heard it enough times since congregation, as you guys have been taking on what it means to be a Matthew 25 congregation, that it feels comfortable? You think that? Yeah. I think that it is. I mean, we get used to hearing a text repeatedly over and over and over. We either internalize it or we shut it off. You know, you get into that road, like when you were a kid and your mom said the same statement over and over and over, did you turn it off a little bit? What do you think that Jesus was hoping for us to get out of this text?
Never just yourself.
Never said yourself.
Show love to your fellow man.
Okay.
He was always kind of against insular religion for religion's sake. And so he said, you know, look out of yourselves and, you know, look to other people, you know, look to the least of these.
So who are the least? So who's the least? Is it us in this room? I don't agree with you.
I don't even.
I think it could be.
I don't agree with you. You know why I don't agree with you?
Well, that happens quite often.
The reason why I don't agree with you is because a lot of times we realize that we are privileged, right? We come from mostly good families. We have the things of our lives. But you know the one thing that we don't have all the time? And not that we have, it's not typically the resources of financial, but sometimes when we're sick or we're lonely or we've lost someone, and we're the least at that point. And it's really hard to change into that position. It's really hard to realize you're in that place of grief and isolation.
And you had it.
Oh, okay, more.
You had it. Try to present a good front. Well,
Where do we hide it?
all the stuff.
All the other stuff.
Under all the hills.
Yeah, under all the other stuff.
Try to.
Do we do better at work? Do we do better in the world around us when we're struggling with stuff?
No.
Maybe not really, but do we fake ourselves out? Hide it
Right.
from ourselves? Yeah, that's where I think that so I trained in San Francisco at a hospital in the middle of the Tenderloin, which is the roughest area of town in San Francisco. It is where you know the obvious least of these. Drug addicts, homeless, you got the list. In prison, I mean, like, you got the list. I mean, Matthew 45, if you didn't visit any of your patients, you would have. And then I moved to West Plano, to Plano Presbyterian Hospital. Hard time going from obvious patient as a young chaplain to non-obvious patient. They have everything. They have family sitting here, but they're still lonely. They have everything in the world, but they're still there. Diagnosis that they don't know how to deal with. They have estrangements from their kids. They have all of these things that are those things that we can keep the happy face on top, but are holding on. Totally agree with you. It's putting on the face. we mask when we're in.
Like when you experience those. Tends to make you be more alert, more. Same thing.
It
And
does.
you can recognize it.
How do you recognize it in someone else?
I think you reflect on your own behaviors.
That depth of community that you guys were talking about, that rather than staying on the surface, but rather going deeper. That component of Matthew 25 that encourages us to go outside the building and see it as a mission field. But it's that internal and developing out deep relationships. And that's something that I think this congregation does a good job. With small groups, with Bible studies, with all those things. Us in a place where we're learning something new and we're stretching ourselves. And we're trusting others to know the stories of our lives. Because we don't all talk about everything. Everybody's got something to hold on to. So, anything else? Do you think that Jesus is worried? After looking at this text, do you think that Jesus is worried at all about annual budgets? Do you think that Jesus is worried about membership? Jesus worried about membership?
Worry about members, but not membership.
Oh, I like that. Worried about the building?
Stupid.
Somebody better look. I agree with you, but. And he's worried about us offering the right program. Discipleship, we struggle. Oh. So it doesn't have to have a nice little bow tied on top of the purple.
Well, he could, it'd be really cute. I don't think he'd care.
I don't think so either. No. Jesus worried about us doing in this text. Where is Jesus expecting us to meet? Because he flips it and doesn't even do the other people. But he flips it and really makes us look at where we're going to meet him.
It's kind of like
The King of Kings just turned into the least. Countercultural to even how we think today. I mean, in our world, the YouTubers, the influencers, the people that have the most clout, the politicians, all of that, are they the ones that are ascribing themselves the least? Not. Have they ever?
Well, the least of what? The least of knowledge, the least emotion. They're very needy
They are.
in lots of ways.
The least of the.
Jesus is asking us to see the people that are not seeing. Jesus is asking us to not even see them, but to act and do. To live through the lens of acting and doing, rather than maintaining the building.
I'm going to go back to your comment about membership.
Mhm.
If you say membership in this church versus membership in XYZ church, I would agree with the statement.
Okay.
If you say membership in the kingdom, then I would say he's definitely concerned about that. And this is our vehicle to work towards that. So
Okay.
in essence, he does.
So I would say membership in the context of generally, it's not our larger congregations that are worried about it, but it is our smaller congregations that are down to 20 and 10 and 5 and 7 in worship. There are a lot of times in this region, you wouldn't think it. There are a lot of congregations that are worshiping a lot less than 20. And they didn't start out that way. And so that is their fear. That is their total fear.
But I would bet with you, those 20 people are a lot closer than maybe any group of 20 in this church, because I've been there. But I think you need to look at the trend lines.
Mhm.
You know, is your membership going up? Is it stable? Why? Why not? Are you not inviting, evangelizing enough, spreading the word enough? It's really a deep subject in my mind.
Oh, it is. Oh, absolutely. All of these things come down to the fact that it is that we are going to go to about, and we're not even surface above them to look down on the picture of it. I mean, this is the idea of vitality and the idea of what it looks like to faith, and really to dig into what it's going to take for us as people of faith to dig it's a big question. And it's a big question for each person individually, each congregation as a whole, and sort of moving out from there. Because it's not what works for Canyon Creek or your discipleship thought process. Because I would say that part of your discipleship process is credo. Not credo, pilgrimage. Sorry, different words. But pilgrimage is big part of y'all's identity, right? A lot of people have attended. It's very much supported, and it's that deepening of faith that is a huge part of discipling people, deepening their faith, meeting them right where they're at. So as we look at this whole topic as a whole, why is vitality a part of the bigger picture of Matthew 25? Why is it one of the 3 pillars? The 3 pillars are building congregational vitality, dismantling structural racism, and eradicating systematic poverty. Sort of go deeper and deeper. And those are all very political words, and probably by design. And we're not going to get into all of those today. But it's really transforming. It's looking at how we transform what it is to be a people of faith, both on our individual personal levels, transforming it out into the congregational context, because we do align with other people in this congregation. We're not, there are reasons why you joined this congregation over another congregation. Either it's location, it's where you felt most called, it's where another friend invited you. The whole why we became a part of a particular congregation is more complex than that.
And at least kind of with that, it got me thinking when I lived in Austin, you know, it's like I grew up here, so this is where I was. But when I was in Austin and visiting churches, I went to one that, you know, like one of the founding pastors is a well-known author, and, you know, so okay, I'll go check this church out. And kind of from that outward look of vitality of, are there people here? Is there music? You know, all of those things. They had all of that. But like during passing of the peace, the only people who I talked to or who talked with me were other visitors. And so it was like, you know, it felt like you couldn't like break into this kind of insular thing that was going on with everybody else. And I ended up going to a Presbyterian church there, and they didn't, you know, the pews weren't full, but I walked in, and immediately when I walked in, somebody, oh, you know, we say debts and not trespasses, and, you know, come to, here, let me introduce you to somebody, all of this stuff. And it was very easy to immediately just be part of that community. And so kind of from that, maybe the world standards of vitality, that church didn't measure up in the same way, but really there was that sense of community. And so they were going out and doing more things and connecting with people inside and outside of the church.
And that's where I hope that we get to the conversation, is that there are some real signs of a vital congregation. And the Presbyterian Church has done a great job of laying that out. They actually have 7 marks. Have you guys ever heard these? For vital congregation? Y'all are a lot of y'all hit. Get some high ones that you hit. Transforming discipleship through a lifetime. So our littlest ones to our oldest ones should be continuing to transform their life of faith and connecting to who we are and whose we are. So that's a huge thing. And that's a huge part of what we do here, isn't it? It's not just about, and actually what's interesting about Canyon Creek that I absolutely love, is that you guys have some of the most diverse group Sunday school classes over the years. Your attendance of Sunday school is actually very high out of most of the congregations that I know of. So that's something that you guys naturally do very well. And you disciple. But what part of that discipleship? Is that a personal commitment upon yourselves, or is it only corporate?
Used to be here or not.
Growing.
We're gifted with a lot of really good teachers that make subjects interesting, so you want to be.
And not just a part of the Sunday school class, but do you know the so what or the so why of when you do things? Like with doing mission projects, with working and engaging around our faith, why we give back to others, why we engage. I mean, let's list off all of the different mission projects or social justice projects that you guys work on. Network, Austin Street,
Auto.
Gateway of Grace,
Gateway to Grace,
blessing bags.
Blessing Bags, Malawi. There's, sure there are.
We're in the daycare.
Daycare, providing quality childcare for your local folks. They all go to church here? Only do any of them go to church here? So that's a mission outside of this building, really.
Mission for the TLC.
TLC,
We spend a lot of time and money on that.
True Church. Oh, the counseling connection, yeah.
The choir, especially.
The P, which is a emergency response for people, if there was not responded to several times by this church, take water to place. We have the group that will respond when it's in Plano, when it's cold weather.
Shelter, yeah. So why do we do those things? Why do those things?
There's a need. There's a need.
There's a need. And where do you guys know about that need from? I mean, this is getting really basic. I mean, this is just like looking.
Community relationships.
How many other organizations besides this organization are you a part of in the community? Put all of your hands up. sorry.
If
You are part of more, or if you're part of one part, an organization outside of this. Put your hand up if you're a part of two. That means volunteering, giving to. Put your hand up if you're a part of other three. Just three. It's all those things.
Yeah.
And have you made relationships with other people in that context? Or do we all just stay in our own little lane and we don't learn about another organization? And probably get involved with another organization or see the need for another organization. Because those networks usually feed us all together, don't they? Or we learn from somebody else. But that's the exciting part about it, is that when we start digging into our communities and really seeing what the needs are in our communities, that's when we can sort of really do that discernment work and dig in by sitting there going, okay, that's a need. Can we meet that? Or how can we meet that? That's the question. Farming over our lifetimes. Do our kids involved? Are our kids involved with this? And why are they involved with doing mission and social justice work? Because we're teaching them to do that. We're raising them up to be a part of society.
I was thinking the kids choir is, they go. The kids choir, when they go on their choir trip and they do mission work as well, they put that all together. But they also, I think they do some stuff around town too. They've gone to the nursing homes and things. So
Isn't that a beautiful way of caring for the lonely and the isolated? The ones that are sick and can't get out? Beautiful. I mean, that's bringing their joyful noise to a wonderful place. We're going to go now to, you used the word earlier.
Sorry.
It's beautiful. That's actually the second sign of a vital congregation is evangelism.
I was just thinking, the problem of having the only people you can talk to are other visitors, that's a great problem to try and solve. Work on that committee.
Are called to share the good news. And what about why Matthew 25 and talking about evangelism? How does that tie together? We're sharing the love of Christ. We're sharing the love. It's not, because I think in the South, in Texas, we outside of our context, evangelism is that kind of, how would we describe it? What are the other words that, if not in a Presbyterian context, you would use the word evangelism? I know we all have feelings. What does evangelism look like not in a Presbyterian context?
A peace in their heart. Largely, the group like us does. There are people who live in mayhem and don't realize it. And they don't know the peace that they can have if they. One of the problems I think we really have is but you don't just go knock on somebody's door and say, hey, come to church. I mean, that okay, but this is a different world. We have 1,000 different churches. A lot of them are kind of loosey-goosey. Some are very serious. The Reformation churches are generally very goosey. They're trying to sell God. I can make God do this for you, and you're going to get rich. God can't be committed And, the whole point is, how do we sell our church? We don't sell our church. When I got on the session, I asked the question, what's our marketing plan? The plan was, we have a Facebook page. End of discussion. So that means if somebody's looking for a Presbyterian church, they do a Google search and 20 of them pop up. So we've advertised for 95% other people than us. Okay, so that's totally unaffected.
So what evangelism teach somebody else?
You need to know showing how Jesus works through you, not by your words, not by saying, this is what the Lord has done. It's working next to somebody at network. It's taking food down to Austin Street. And person, and having them know you as a person. They, I hope they do, but ways that evangelism really works is through content.
So it's individual relationships of love.
It's much better.
I mean, but it is. It's individual relationships of love that produce more individual relationships of love. Does it matter if they show up here? I see Presbyterians pop around, I get the chance to see where people end up. So people pop around in different congregations. I'm always happy to see them pop up in another congregation, in a Presbyterian congregation. But if they're engaged in a place of faith and they're getting filled up and they're sharing the love of Jesus with somebody else through their acts of kindness, through the service to the community around us, through just the way that they show up in the world, sort of story of how, what is it? They know we are Christians by our, that whole song.
My mom had it.
She baked. So that was her love language to welcome with food. So, who else welcomed us with food? Welcomed us to the table. Yeah. Jesus literally, we monthly do it, but you could do it weekly too. So we talked about evangelism and more of a Presbyterian style of evangelism. An outward focus. So what happens when we look, if all we're doing is looking down?
Miss a lot. Opportunities. It's a lot.
You miss the people. You miss Christ out in the world. Yeah. So looking up, looking out, getting in the posture of, and that's a healthy posture. When you're a person who is sick and you're a person who is not doing well, you of course are looking down because that's where you're at. And that's okay. And that's really where other people in the congregation should come beside you. You see somebody looking downward and focusing inward more and more, that's a wonderful sign that hey, I might need to check in on that person because is it mental? Is it physical? Is it emotional? Is it loneliness? That they're becoming more isolated. And actually to know that your fellow people are hurting. But so if we're looking outward, what are we looking for? Who's hurting? Who's needing something? Presbyterians over the history, we have all these hospitals that are named after that Presbyterians have started. Why did we start hospitals? because people needed healthcare. Why did we start universities? Presbyterians are really good at hospitals and universities, but also are we good at system-wise to build? Education, I mean, it's a huge part of, Sunday school,
Seminaries.
seminaries. That's a whole nother problem. Anybody who is at all interested in seminary, please encourage them along the way. We need more pastors. We are at all-time low of turning out pastors. And that is something that we need to outwardly focus on, how we are going to serve the communities in which we are already engaged.
Is that in all denominations?
All denominations, but Presbyterian seminaries are struggling. But yeah, I mean, I think Austin graduated. It was 3 or 6 folks that are serving congregations. Oh,
That may say something about the structure and format traditionally of our churches. Because mostly 3 of them went to a parish, to a church. So the other ones.
yes.
And that's a whole rabbit trail that we don't need to get into, but
I'd love to talk to you sometime.
there's something, and I don't have an answer, I don't have a suggestion of an answer. But there's something about this typical format of our church that maybe we need to look at. And that's not the only way to serve God.
I mean, I'm part of the problem. I mean, that's exactly, I went to seminary thinking I was going to serve a congregation, and I've never served in a congregation. And I've been ordained for 15 years, 16 years. I mean, served in chaplaincy, served at the presbytery. I served here, but not in a professional capacity.
And when you say it's a situation and not a problem, obviously a negative. And I don't think what you're doing is negative.
No, I think but it's part of the challenge is that truly creative and allow the discernment and the discipling of people to the point in which we can see where the church, the traditional church, and the parachurch organization, like the hospitals, like Austin Street, like Network, these are all places where pastors would serve, or people that trained as social workers and pastors together and doing ministry would serve in those capacities because they see a stronger capacity. I think we're also going to get to the point, and we are to that point at this point in our congregational lives, where a lot of congregations can't afford to pay a full-time pastor. Raising up and discipling people that can imagine a diversity of what ministry looks like. That it's not just one thing, but it can be serving in another capacity that pays your bills, and another capacity where it's that kind of creativity that we need to get really comfortable with. And our commissioned pastors, who are typically folks that have another means of work and can't imagine trying to go back to seminary, which is a long time. I mean, years plus whatever is required of them outside of that. If you're an adult who's in their 40s or 50s, that amount of time in your life, I mean, you want to just get to the work of serving in church. And it would be 18 months of part-time versus 3 to 4 years of full-time. ministry. And that goes to the next one, empowering members to see their call and to see how they can individually serve in ministry. Because you know that you all have gifts for ministry. Every single one of us in here has a gift for ministry. It doesn't all look the same. And it doesn't really look the same from the perspective of some people are good at organizing. Is that a gift for ministry? Are some people good at teaching classes? Are some people good at being the behind the scenes person that just makes sure that just things happen? That's usually the quieter person, the introvert. And they're not usually the one that's brought up as the leader for the ministry project. But if you don't have those folks, the extrovert that is loosey-goosey, it isn't going to work, is it? So it's helping members discover where their gifts are. What about members that are elderly? Ministry gifts. They don't feel like they have a lot they can't do. What on them for their ministry gifts?
Wisdom. Passing on.
The wisdom, the people that we listen to that have wise words, that have lived enough times and experienced enough things. So it's really looking at all of us and going, we all have gifts for ministry, no matter what age we are. Do you think little kids can lead? Do you think that teenagers can lead? Do you think college students can lead? Young adults? So the only way that they ever get a chance to know what they're really good at, you know what it takes to get someone to be a minister or an elder? What are the steps that it takes to be a minister or an elder? What's the first step? Being encouraged, being told. Have you ever thought about serving? I know the nominating committee is really good at this. But how do each of us do that work where we see, like, you know what, you really have a gift and skill for this. Have you thought about serving in that capacity? Ellen's really good at that. Ellen's got like a superpower on that, and I would love to bottle her and like pass her around. She's really good at seeing those gifts and skills people have. And then spirit-inspired worship. So that passing of the peace where nobody talked to you, was that spirit-inspired? Didn't feel like it. What other parts of spirit-inspired worship? Do you feel the same as you come in when you leave? Change. And it may not be a huge change, but you come away thinking something differently than you did. Engaged in a different way of, oh, that's a new way of, oh, what if I engaged that idea? Is it found in just preaching? Oh, they know we are Christians by our love. We are learning through what we sing more often. You know, most of those hymns that we've sung and are wrote in our minds are the things that we hold on to and actually hold on to as long as we live. So it's feeling renewed, that we're taught, renewed, and sent out. Are you supposed to stay in worship at the end of it? Larry was here with us. What did he say? Are you supposed to stay in the worship service? what's the ending of the worship service? In a Presbyterian worship structure, you're a sent. You're not. Okay? Go do your work. Go be Christ in the world. Get involved. You've been filled. Now go.
Go. Don't sit on your ass all day.
You said
Did
it.
I say that out loud?
That's fine. But no, it's really, it is getting engaged and getting into the community and going from there. And if we're really inspired by the music and by the and really getting engaged and letting Christ live within us in worship. But being sent is the biggest part of worship. We don't stand on our laurels, but we go. And I know Presbyterians, we like sitting for the end. Fine. But you ultimately have to leave the building and go and serve. Something. Yeah. Go see where people need to be given. Care for. The next one, caring relationships. Almost there. Caring relationships is the next one. That sense of caring for each other, that depth of relationship, that hospitality, that welcome, that, I mean, basically goes through Matthew 25. And imagine that anybody who walks in the door, anyone, not just a visitor, but anyone, should be cared for deeply and visited and not left to be without water or food or care. So that deepening of relationships, I think we do a really great deepening of those relationships, but keep doing it more. Keep deepening those relationships. All right, and my favorite one, it's last. Congregations build healthy systems. Why is this my favorite? It is clearly our focus to build reliability, responsibility, and to care for our leaders. If we do not have healthy leaders, and we do not have healthy systems, we do not have healthy sessions. So we have ruling elders and we have teaching elders, right? Both of those groups have to be cared for and not burdened so to the point where they can't do the work as best they can. We have to have Sabbath. We have where you have time off and time away. And in the crisis, sometimes you can't do that. But then to make sure that each of your leaders is taking that time, building in those systems to take care of the building, I wouldn't leave it completely. It's really taking care of the whole system and making sure that we're accountable for our stewardship of time, talents, and money and people. We've got to be good stewards. Take care of our pastors. We've got to take care of our elders. Your session has done tremendous work over the last year. Seeing the discipleship committee, how many things are coming through and how much work that they're doing to really do that hard work of caring for this congregation as best they can. And our deacons, we have to take care of them. Rats done first. It's important for our deacons to be cared for because sometimes I'm guessing that group of deacons is the last ones to ask for something else for themselves. So watch out for them. Take care of them. Honor their work. That's my favorite one. And I typically get to do this kind of conversation with the congregation around when a pastor's taking a day off. And so it's like my final. It's really, really good, really, really important that if they have vacation, that they get to just let the hair down. They're on. But really take care of your elders. Because they're doing really great work. I want us to close with a little bit different way of doing a prayer. So I'm going to start us off with a prayer. And then I want us to popcorn in what our prayer requests are. And then we will, after each of those, complete yours with Lord in your mercy. And we will say, hear our prayer. So let us pray. Loving God, we come to you for the world and those in this church and in our community. In your gracious love, we are shown through Jesus Christ, your kingdom revealed. How we can serve and be faithful, how we can serve your church. And by the Holy Spirit, we grow in our discipleship, becoming vital and continuing to be vital in the ways we are doing. Any of the prayers in this room that they might be prayers for each other. I pray for Ellen. Think what Jesus would do. Take on those short little tropes of serving the ones without care and the lowest. It's easy and it's hard work, and it's continual. That's good. We should be doing that hard work. Presbyterians, we like education. Each other and being advocates for each other. Thank you for your time, and just any questions, let me know.